Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction. Join our hosts as they speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your friends in recovery.
Welcome back to the Friends in Recovery Podcast with Jersey Ed. And I'm your host, Jersey Ed, along with my co-host, Buckeye Bambi, and special guest today, Beth B, who came from us from from heaven, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But she is our special guest host this morning. I'd like to just give everybody the 800 number right off bat if you're struggling, if you're looking for help, if you have some comments or anything that you want to talk about with us, you can call us at 800-989-6504. That's 800-989-6504. And I'm going to stop right there because I repeated that number twice, right? My daughter said that is so 80s. She's like, that's when people had answering machines. She's like, why do you even put your phone? Because I was leaving somebody a message and she's like, why do you even put your phone number on? They know from the caller ID. So it's just old habits die hard. So that's right.
There's a commercial out, Ed. There's a commercial.
Oh, yeah, the Geico,
TV,
right?
One of the insurance commercials
or
something. One of those things that say you don't have to do that anymore. It's for old people to teach them how not to act.
That's right. Exactly. So I won't be the old people anymore. So, but here's something new and up and coming. We have email now, right? It's this new thing, I think, that was just put out a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember, somebody invented it, but it's help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. Please email us if you have any concerns, any sober shout outs, anything along those lines. We'll get to sober shout outs in a minute, but please email us and we will get back to you. We had a lovely letter a couple of weeks ago that we read on the show from somebody who's staying sober because of this show. So it's one of those great letters. We're also looking for a podcast intern. Please email us at the above, help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. Send us your resume and I'll have Bambi look at it.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So ladies, how are you ladies doing today? Beth, you're new to this show. Thank you for coming on and we appreciate it. How are you doing today? You a little nervous? You're good to go? What's going on over there?
Well, good morning and thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited. I love this kind of stuff. I love talking about the steps. I love hanging out with people and I didn't have to leave my house to do so.
There you go. That's
the best part.
That is the best part. That's right. And we do talk about the steps, guys, because today is step 9, getting personal. We'll get to that in a minute. But I'd also like to thank all the donors. Bambi, I'll get to you. I didn't forget about you. I just want to thank all the donors before I want to see how you're doing because I know the Buckeyes are playing today and we have to get off real quick. So I'd like to thank all of our donors who made this show possible. And if you want to make a donation, please donate to us on Venmo at Friends in Recovery Enterprises under business. And there is one other one. It's Cash App, $ Friends in Recovery Community, right? That's it. Okay. And here's the old
Friends
people.
in Recovery.
Here's the old people part of the show. Or you can send a check to Friends in Recovery Enterprises, P.O. Box 1551, Johns Island, South Carolina, 29457. And Friends in Recovery podcast is now part of the Fire Network.
Super cool.
What is the Fire Network, Ed?
Funny you should ask. I was just going to mention that, Bambi. You will get the gist of this, Beth.
You won't remember it week to week, but you'll get the gist.
That's
and
right.
If he prompts you enough, you'll
figure
it out.
Exactly. So Friends in Recovery, Bambi, Friends in Recovery Network, Fire Network is Friends in Recovery is part of the Fire Network. Fire Network is a bunch of podcasters in recovery, talking about recovery, doing recovery, sharing recovery, all on our webpage. Our webpage is friendsinrecoverycommunity.org, right? And if you go there, probably not up yet, but we're still in the middle of building it. You will see all kinds of podcasts on there, right? Every podcast from SoberPod too. I think Joe just came on. I'm trying to get Joe to come on and be part of the Fire Network. Dayton Strong Recovery 101. And we have a bunch of other people who also committed. So we're just getting that up and going, and it's free, guys. You don't have to pay for anything. It's free. So we're going to share all kinds of good stuff on there. We're going to do all kinds of crazy stuff. So that's the Fire Network. Check it out. If you want any information on it, you can email info@soberpod.com and ask Carl about it, and he'll send you all that information, or help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. So that is it for all the stuff. Just stay tuned for some amazing recovery. While we're doing that, I want to give you guys some literature that we're using today. I know Bambi's going to use the 12 steps of the 12 steps of spiritual journey, and Beth is our resident big book thumper today. So she will be saying stuff from the big book that I probably don't even understand, and that's okay. So just don't send me the email, send her the email. Okay. You can address it to Beth. Let's see. And I'll be using a few different things. Of course, the 12 and 12, the good daily reflections today. Ben, maybe if you want to read that, the daily reflections, we'll talk about that. And I got a cool book I've been reading, and I read this page this morning, and I'm not going to read it now, but I'm going to reference to it. It's called The Healing Power of Positive Words. It's not an AA book at all. But when I read this page this morning, when I was preparing for the podcast, I was like, shit, man, this is all AA stuff in this fucking chapter. I'm like, somebody was looking out for me. So I'm going to make some reference to that. And also, I'm going to be asking some questions from the Life Recovery Workbook, if you guys don't mind.
Love it.
So, Bambi, you want to tell us about our Zoom meetings and where they can find us and all our social media good stuff?
Absolutely. Everybody should join Friends in Recovery, a community of support, on our Facebook page, and you can find all of our meetings listed there. We have a 12 noon and a 7 o'clock AA meeting every single day. We are also listed on AA Intergroup. You can find us there. And we have an AA Morning Glories meeting, which is my meeting. So you should all join that on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock for me. So if I can do it, y'all can do it. And then we offer all kinds of other supportive meetings. We have family, alumni and friends, or family loved ones group on Mondays. We have a first responder meeting. We have a medical meeting, which is a lot of nurses and medical professionals. We have meditation. We just offer all kinds of stuff. So join us on Friends in Recovery, a community of support, on Facebook page, and you can find all of our information. Also, you should join us on the Telegram app. It's a free app. That's a downloadable app on your phone. And it's a daily support. And I'm telling you, if you're struggling at any time, someone is awake. It's a messenger app, and someone is there for you all the time. And it's fun. It's actually a fun messenger app. So join us on Telegram. We're also on all the other social media platforms, Instagram, all those things.
Yeah. Thank you, Bambi. And don't forget
TikTok.
Except for TikTok. We'll get on there eventually.
We're not on TikTok yet.
Eventually we'll get on there.
You always say we are.
I know. TikTok. I always say, well, go look for us on TikTok. Maybe it's on there. I don't know. Maybe somebody out there is doing something for Friends in Recovery that we don't know about.
Maybe.
But and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and give us a 5-star review of this show, because that's how this show gets out. That's how we get things going. That's how we get people to know about us. That's how we build listeners and viewership and all that good stuff. And in turn, that spreads the word, guys, of recovery. And that's what we're here to talk about today. But before we talk about recovery, guys, you know what time it is, Bambi and Beth. It is
Question of the Week.
Question of the week.
Right. Question of the week, guys. And it's a good one. Everybody was excited about this one. When I text Beth and Bambi on this one, they were like, oh yeah, this is a great question. And I just got to thinking of my question, my answer this morning. But the question of the week is, if you could be a cartoon character for 1 week, who would you be and why? Right? That's a good question. So I'm going to start with our new person here today, our new our guest co-host, Beth. And Beth, if you would like to share your answer on that, why I changed my name to Jersey Ed on the show on the fly again, guys. Go ahead, Beth.
So I actually had a really hard time with this because I was like, I haven't watched cartoons in like, I don't know how long. And so I asked my daughter and I said, if I could be, a cartoon character for a week, who do you think I should be? And she said Moana, which technically is a cartoon character, but
Okay.
so, and I said, Moana, why? So, just to preface, we are getting ready to move in 4 weeks. We're moving right down the street. I'm not going anywhere. Everybody's like freaking out. What do you mean you're moving? I'm not going. And she said, because you're super stubborn, but you're really nice and you get shit done.
Wow.
And I was like,
Wow. That's nice.
I cried. Like I waited till
Aw.
but yeah, that came from my 13-year-old. So I mean,
Wow.
I'm gonna go with it. If I could definitely channel some Moana over the next 4 weeks, because I haven't started packing yet. It looks like a bomb went off in my house. And I'm working, and the kids are in school, and recovery, and all that comes with that. So yeah, I'm gonna be channeling my inner Moana and hope that
You get shit done.
hope that Wayne Johnson comes and helps me move.
That would be nice, right? Well, and then we dumped the podcast on your lap in the midst of everything also. So welcome.
Love it.
Bambi, what about your question of the week?
Oh, well, I am totally going to be Tigger for a week. I want to jump around the forest and have not a care in the world and have all that energy and not have anything to put it to any good use. And I want to do that. No alcohol, no drugs in my system. I just want to be happy, bubbly, and not have a care for 1 week.
Yes, there you go. And that two great answers. Now, Moana, I'm not too familiar with. I guess she's a newer cartoon character in the Disney world, right? Is that what I'm guessing?
Yeah, she's it's a movie. It's a Disney movie.
Okay. Well, I am sure I'm sure you are who she is. And Bambi, I could see you bouncing around with like Tigger and all that. So I asked my wife this morning. So I had somebody, I actually have 2 answers. I learned this from Jeff. It's better to have 2 answers for some reason. I don't know, Jeff always says I have 2 answers. And whenever he asks the question of the week, he always has 2 answers, right? So I asked my wife, who do you think I am? She goes, Tigger, 100% hands down. You should be Tigger, right?
Tigger.
I know, but I'm like, yeah, yes, no, whatever. But my thought was Bugs Bunny. Right?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Bugs Bunny. Because here's why. I think I am Bugs Bunny. Because I'm always running. Bugs Bunny's always running around blowing shit up, doing not that I blow shit up. I mean, please, I don't need any FBI agents knocking on the door. Don't do that. Okay. Carl, cut this out. Okay. But Bugs Bunny, because he's always coming up with plans, ideas. He's always trying to learn things. He's always trying to make things better and do things, his way, not his way, but, in a better way to build a better mousetrap. So that's what I always try to do, especially on this show, especially on my recovery. So that's who I would be. But my second choice would be, you guys are going to laugh if you guys know this show, Stan Smith from Family Guy, not Family Guy, from what the hell is the name of the show? I watch it every night. Somebody help me in the room. Stan Smith. He's on one of those.
I don't watch those things.
I don't know that cartoon.
Not Family Guy. I think it's Family Guy, right? I think it's Family Guy. Anyways, Stan Smith.
Chin?
Yeah. Exactly. Yes, that guy. Yes. We'll have to Google it, and I'll tell you here in a minute. But before we get into so that's a question of the week, guys. If you have a question of the week, please comment below, email us. And for you guys in Facebook Live, welcome, number 1. And also give us your cartoon characters and why, and we'll read them on the air as we go through. But I skipped the sober shout outs, guys. I didn't have anything written in there. I want to give Beth a minute before we start the show for the sober shout outs, because she's new at this. And I want her to explain maybe how she got here, why she got here. We know a great mutual friend who is a dear friend of mine, and he has been a guest on this podcast in the past. But Beth, just give us a little bit about us, and a sober shout out to you too.
Thanks, man. So first of all, I met Ed at lunch. down at a conference, and we sat and had an incredibly lively conversation, to say the least, which was a lot of fun. And I met him through Mike Frank, who is our visionary at the Milestone House and Excel Treatment Center. So so Excel and Milestone. So Milestone's been around over 20 years, and I think it's the OG of sober living in Jersey. And if it's not, we'll just take whoever it was down, and so we can. But we have this huge following. We have this huge alumni, and it equates to an incredible close community. And what's wonderful, I think it was in 2013. I'm probably going to get quizzed on this at some point. He opened Excel Treatment Center, which only added to our community. It then gave us the ability to bring clinical as a different setting. And they have the opportunity, when you're in treatment there, you have the opportunity to really see people further down the path, and see what you're working towards. So it's great alumni association. And I want to give two shout outs, one to Shawn Egan, who's my alumni coordinator, and he's working towards being community outreach with me. And I also would love to give Miss Nikoleta a shout out.
Nikoleta, yes, we love Nikoleta.
She's a director of Milestone. She's directs Milestone pretty much.
Yes.
Happened. She celebrated 16 years sober this week.
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
Yes, 16
Amazing.
years. I forgot. Yes, congratulations, Nikoleta.
Yeah, Nikoleta is the heart and soul, and she's my heart and soul, and she's this just wonderful, vulnerable, open human being at all times, which just blows my mind because it's the exact opposite of me. So yeah, I want to give a shout out to Miss Nikoleta because she's a beautiful light. She really is.
She is. Nikoleta, every time I walk into that office, of course, Mike's a great guy too, but enough of Mike. We'll talk about Nikoleta. She is. You go into that room, you feel comfortable. It's just, you talk to her. She's just all about recovery, helping people. She has a great soul, a great, great soul. That's what she has. And when I walk out of that room in that office with them, it's just like, thank God I came here, right? Yeah, the breathe, the air, the lightness. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, thank you, Beth, for telling us a little bit of who you are and how can they reach you? Because we're always giving phone numbers out here, but if somebody needs to reach you, how can they reach you?
Sure. So I'm going to be an old person and let you know that my phone number is 862-432-6887. Again, that is 862-432-6887. And you can actually reach me at Milestone or Excel Treatment Center at any time. We're on the web. We have a Facebook page. We have a huge following. So, and join Milestone House on Instagram, because Nikoleta is obsessed with doing reels now, and we're trying to have a lot of fun with that. And we too would like to do a TikTok. I told you TikTok, so we'll get.
Good. We'll all get to TikTok, but also this show I always post it on Milestone's, the alumni group too. So, you guys can always look over there too. But yeah, Milestone is an amazing, I remember when Mike first opened it up. I mean, Mike and I go back that long when Milestone first opened up. I remember Excel opening and all that. And Mike and I remain really, really good friends. So Nikoleta and him, Mike, Frank, if you go back last year, you'll see their show. They did a really, really good show. Forgot what it was about. I think it was about sober living and treatment, but go back and look for that show. And it's something you guys want to definitely watch. So, Bambi, your sober shout outs. Thank you, Beth.
Well, our friend in recovery, Bonnie, has a year. She just made a year this week.
Bonnie, congratulations, Bonnie. Yeah. Congratulations. And
that's really my only real sober shout out this week.
All right. My only sober shout out really is Nikoleta. That's really, really all I got this week. So she's worth 2 sober shout outs. So real quick, guys, American Dad is the show that Stan Smith is on, American Dad. So if you want to go watch that, that's kind of me. And I know all my liberal friends will be pissed off that I said this on here, but it's okay. That's you, Chris C. Chris Cuddles. Anyways, all right, guys. So let's start talking about this step here. We're on step 9 today, and we're gonna get personal. Made a direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So we read a lot of, we read almost all step 9 last week, Bambi, I think, or
Yeah, we
2 weeks
did.
ago. Yeah. And we got through it pretty good. And then we had Jeff on the last week, and he kind of gave us a great insight of how to deal with it clinically. And that show is always great. I get rave reviews about that show. Everybody emails me about it and everything. But I liked his philosophy of kind of how he deals with a therapist from a therapist standpoint of view, because my 4 and 5, or my 5th step, I did with my therapist, and I think my 9th step I'm going to redo again with my therapist, because it was so like, in like kind of, they know what's going on from a different point of view. My sponsor was all in for it. He said, not a problem. Do whatever you want with your therapist. It's good. And I didn't ask him yet about my 9th step, but I'm just kind of, I just had a great experience doing my 5th step with my therapist, that I think I'm just going to get my therapist involved in my 9th step again. Now, I have done a 9th step long time ago, long time ago. And you know what we always say about the steps: when you get finished with the steps, you have to go back. It's like painting that bridge, man. You have to go back. And I neglected that bridge for a while. I really have. It's an honest program. And now I'm back doing the steps, and my life has changed. Bambi and I started this almost at the beginning of the year. I started at the beginning of the year. And these shows have changed my life with doing the steps once a week. Seriously, just studying, going through them. And Beth, if you join us again, you'll see. I mean, even though we're on step 9, we really have to, study these things, listen to them. And it really changed my life. So I am looking forward, I know it sounds weird, to doing the 9th step and making apologies and doing all that stuff. But it's going to heal me. It's going to heal me. It's going to maybe help other people again out there, because I was an asshole in recovery also. I'm not just fucking, drinking. I was an asshole in recovery also. I'm telling you, I was, still sometimes I am, but I catch myself a lot quicker. But I still have to make amends. I may not have, kind of made amends right away with my 10th step. There's people out there that I might still have to go through. Not as many as I had to, and even maybe some of those crazy thoughts I had about my ex-wife and this one and that one. I still have to kind of own up to that shit, because if I keep those fucking thoughts in my mind and I don't get them out, I don't apologize or do whatever I have to do, it's just gonna build up. Oh, did you hear about your ex-wife? Yeah, she's a fucking ass. I don't need to do that. My ex-wife is not an asshole. She raised my children wonderfully. Her and I didn't see eye to eye, and that's okay. But those kids, I have 5 beautiful kids, and she raised 4 of them. And so that's why I still have to keep doing these steps, even after all these years. So that's kind of my take on step 9 personally, and we can get into a little bit more. But Beth, I'm going to throw it right at you. What's step 9 to you? Personally, however you want to talk about step 9, have at it.
So step 9 is like the hardest step for me to talk about. A lot of my amends were pretty much non-eventful. I have one major amends that I had made that literally shifted the trajectory of my life. And that was with my dad, actually. So a little history on me. I got sober and didn't go through the work for 6.5 years. So I stayed sober without going through the book. I thought I understood the steps. I thought, I did a version of a 4th step when I had 2.5 years sober. I did a 5th step and then stopped. So I didn't start and sorry, I'm getting texts like right on my computer screen. I didn't start and complete the steps until I had 6.5 years. And the reason that I did was because I wanted to kill myself. I was literally sitting in a conference, Area 44 conference in Parsippany, New Jersey, wanting to kill myself. And so this woman walked into my life and she asked me if I was done and said to show up at her house at Tuesday at 7:00. And if I was more than 15 minutes late, she's going to shut the door, lock it, come back another time. And what's really interesting about this is to this day, I can't find my way out of a paper bag. And 6.5 years sober, there was no internet. There was no cell phone. There was no GPS. There was nothing. There was like, turn left at the third light, and how we used to give directions.
MapQuest.
There was no MapQuest.
Oh, way back when. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
There was no MapQuest. So there was no internet. So, so I showed up, and she took me through the work. So I had 7.5 years sober when I made my first approach on step 9. Now, having said that, I for our 8th step, what my sponsor has us do is write the amends out on a card, on a 3x5 card. And they're called our amends cards. And we have to write out like basically exactly what we're going to say. And then back of the card, we have to write 3 questions. And the first one is there any other way that I've harmed you that I'm not aware of?
Wow.
Because I'm selfish as fuck. And the second,
we're not allowed to say that on this show.
There we are. So
selfish. No, selfish. You're not allowed to say.
So the second question is, do you want to tell me how this made you feel? And then I have to shut up and listen. And the third question is, how do I set these matters straight? And I have to do anything that I'm asked. If I am willing to put myself out there, like I got to do whatever's asked. I have been asked a couple of questionable things, at which point my response given to me by my sponsor was, can you please give me 24 hours to discuss this with my support group, and I'll get back to you. Because if it's inappropriate or if it's going to harm somebody else, I've got to take it into consideration, and I can't just be a blind yes man. So my dad, my amends with my dad. Oh, I love my dad. Now I love my dad. My dad and I have a very crazy story and past. So I was raised by my parents, both my parents. They were married till I got sober. They got divorced when I got sober. And I was raised to think that my dad hated me. And my dad was also incredibly violent and explosive. Never drank. Neither one of my parents drank. And when I got sober, he had a restraining order against me, that I wasn't allowed anywhere, I don't know, near him or the house or whatever. Fast forward, 7.5 years, almost 8 years. And, we had somewhat repaired the relationship. The restraining order was gone. I see him here and there. I'm not super close with my family, so it wasn't anything great. And I made the approach. Wow. It was before I got engaged, before I got married. And I made the approach, and I asked him, I said, I need to come and make amends to you. And he's like, what the hell is that? And my dad he's passed away since, but he was first generation American. Parents were from Sicily, grew up in the city, was a union electrician in Manhattan. Like, he's 100% New York. And so I went down and I sat down with him, and I'm like, I read the amends card to him. Things I did, these are the things I need to take responsibility for. And then I asked the 3 questions, and he said to me, I remember him saying to me, when I asked him, I said, how does this make you feel? And instantaneously he said, I think, and I thought that was hilarious. He said, I think you have a God in your life.
Ooh. And
I think that that's a good thing. Yeah. And then he fucking fire on the amends, man. He said that I had to show up at his house anytime he called, that I wasn't allowed to say no to him anymore. And it's weird because I almost feel like he had a conversation with my sponsor, because my sponsor was like, you're not allowed to say no to your parents or your children ever again. I was so grateful I didn't have children yet. And I said, okay. I said that was reasonable. So I lived an hour away from my dad. And the process started out as, it kind of came across as a joke, but I really feel like he was testing the waters in, was I actually going to do what I said I was going to do? Sure. And so I lived about 55 minutes from my dad, and he would call me at 3:00 and be like, be at my house at 4:00 for dinner.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, fuck. I mean? So, God, I hope I don't hit traffic. And he started making these dinners, and, you know, the older he got, he was old for his age. And his body was breaking down. He was living alone on like 8 acres of land backed up to a state forest. Like he lived in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
And he was breaking down. And so he started making these dinners and eventually started making the spaghetti sauce. It had more wine in it than it had. And I could not in good conscience eat it. So we would leave his house hungry and like hit Burger King on the way home. Yeah. So as my dad started to age, I love telling the rest of the story because it really is the result of the amends, right? So we make the direct amends, and then it's about living that amends, right? That's the living amends, is doing what we say we're going to do, being the daughter that he deserves, being the family member that I'm supposed to have been. Yeah. So fast forward, I don't know, a couple of years, I think a year and a half after that, I went to him and my husband went and talked to him and asked him for my hand in marriage, to which my father's response was, I don't know why you're asking me. Beth has never done anything I told her to do. Good luck. And then I went to him. My husband's Jewish. And it was important to my mother-in-law that I convert. And so I went to my father and I said, I'm considering converting to Judaism. Want to know how you feel about that and want to know how the family feels about that. And he said to me, now my grandmother, my Sicilian grandmother, she did the rosaries every day till the day she died, because the Catholic Church said she had done something wrong. And if she had not done what she did, she would have died. So it was like, this whole thing, right? So she's super Catholic. And my dad said to me, he goes, I don't care what anybody says. He goes, you have more of a relationship with God than anybody I know. And I don't care how you express that. And I was like, okay. And so I didn't wind up converting until like, I don't know, 9 years ago. So this is like a million years ago. I didn't convert until I was good and ready. Shocker. And but I'm glad that it came up the way it did. Because I wound up converting after he passed away, like well after he passed away. And having had that conversation all those years ago, it kind of put it to rest that he was cool with what I did. And I became the person in the family, and I'm the youngest of 3. And my older brother, the middle child, the scapegoat, and he was a scapegoat, he lived with my dad. And my dad started getting sick. And he refused to listen to my brother. So he would call me, my brother would call me and say things like, Dad's heart rate's at like 190 resting. And he's shaking and he's beat red and he won't go to the hospital. Like, we'll put him on the phone. And he puts him on the phone and he's like, what do you want? And I'm like, I want you to go to the hospital. And he'd be like, okay. So then I'd get a call like 20 minutes later from my brother again going, can you please tell him he can't drive? And then I will drive him. And again, that's my dad. So I get on the phone with him. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm going to the hospital. You told me to go to the hospital. I said, not be an idiot. Can you let Scott drive? And he's like, fine. So he lets him drive. So I became that person. I think I was one of the only safe people in my dad's life. His younger sister was super cool, but super busy. And his older sister was just a narcissist. And I think he always had that self-protection up. And I'll never forget the day he helped us. He gave us money to buy a house, like our first house when we got married. And we didn't ask, but he came over. Now he's, an electrician, and I was sweating it too because we bought a flip. And he's like, I'm not letting you walk into this house unless you let me look at it. And so I brought him over for a private tour. I told the real estate agent, I said, just stay outside. I said, and by the end of it, he came out and he goes, I'm really proud of you. He goes, you picked a good house. And I was like, oh my God. And then he like drove down to the real estate agent and gave them a like $10,000 check. Like, God. He just wrote a check. And I'm like, whoa.
One of those old people things.
Yeah, one of those old people things. Yeah.
But my dad I was the one that my dad called when his dog passed away. That was his life, was his dogs. And I'll never forget that. So anyway, he was coming to the house for the first time without me. And it was up in Hopatcong. And anybody that's from New Jersey and knows like Hopatcong knows those roads were made from deer trails.
Yeah.
And he couldn't find the house, and he called me from a payphone, and he's like, oh no, he called me from a cell phone. He had just, it was 2001. He just got a cell phone.
Wow.
And he goes, I can't find the house. And I was like, all right, I'll come down and get you. And he goes, how do I hang this phone up? And he couldn't figure it out. So he threw it out the window.
Oh my God.
It was, yeah, that's my dad. And, but it was also the first time he said, I love you.
Mm.
That was, I think I was 10 or 11 years sober. And he said, I love you. And it came out stuttery and it came out broken, but it came out. And I say it every time I get off the phone. All right, Pop, I love you. Bye. And he never said it. And that's just who my dad was. And he said it and he started saying it. And then the next thing you know, he's like going to see a doctor and he's going on an antidepressant and he wants to go out to the movies all the time. And he wants to go to dinner all the time. And he does shit like steals mugs from Friendlies. My dad. He me to Home Depot and he steals and I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, don't say anything to me. Like, this is just who my dad is. I said, Dad, you can steal a table saw. I cannot.
Oh my God.
I'll have to live by your rules. I'm not an alcoholic. And I love it. So funny. And when he passed away, so my dad passed away on Father's Day, actually, we were sitting at the restaurant waiting for him. And I'm like, where the hell is he? And it's not, trust me, it was not a shocker that he didn't show up. Like, he lived on 8 acres of land backed up to a state forest. He had a in-ground pool. So you never went to my dad's house without telling him, because you'd walk in, he'd just be naked in the pool.
Oh, Jesus.
You don't show up at my dad's house unannounced. So my brother went up to the house and he had passed away the night before. And it's so my dad to die on Father's Day. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's such a dad move.
Mm.
So when my dad passed away, because I worked this program, because I continued to practice these principles when he frustrated me and when we didn't agree or we didn't see eye to eye. And the time that I told him, I was helping him move into his house and he yelled at me. And I'm like 20 something years old. And I looked at him and I said, you don't yell at me anymore. That's not going to happen. He never yelled at me again.
Wow.
Person in front of him. That was never going to be okay. But when he passed away, I really sat and there was a lot of grief, and it took me about 15 years to really process the loss of my father. But there was nothing left unsaid.
Mm.
I felt that I had the opportunity to be the daughter that he deserved. And in his, in his generation and his ethnicity and his social upbringing, he watched his daughter get married. He watched his daughter be a good wife. He watched his daughter buy a house.
Mm.
And unfortunately, he was literally 10 months from seeing me become a mom. And it was the only thing that he missed. And it still makes me cry because I swear to God, his spirit. So he had a Brooklyn and my son started talking at 9 months old. He's a really early talker, super late walker, lame. And he's lazy as fuck, but and I love him for it. But he used to offer his bink up to the corner of the room all the time.
Wow.
And when he started talking, he would say the word father like fodder. He was very clear in his enunciation. He never said yep. He always said yes. He would correct you if you said yep. He'd be like, yes. But he said fodder. He's my fodder. And I swear to God, my dad was there the whole time. I swear my dad is still around with the stuff that happens. But I don't feel guilty about my relationship with my father. I don't feel unfulfilled with my relationship with my father. And I lost him when I was 31.
Mm-hmm.
So I lost him very early. And because of this program, because we do these steps, because I cleared the wreckage of my past with him, cleared the slate, he got the opportunity to be who he was with me instead of always having to be self-protected around me. Mm. That's the gift of the 9th step. That is the gift that I got to experience. I got to know my dad. When we were at his funeral, he had friends. My dad was like the coolest guy. Asshole, but he was the coolest guy. He had friends come in from all over the country for his funeral, and they all told me I had an Alaskan Malamute at the time, which is a big deal. And every single person that came to the funeral was like, how is Tommy's grandson, Marshall, which is my dog?
Oh,
He would talk to everybody, and they all came and they told me all these stories. It turns out that behind the scenes, like my dad was this huge philanthropist. And no, I don't come from money. My dad was a union electrician. Like,
wow.
you know what I mean? Like he commuted in 5 a.m. and was home by 6 p.m. from Sussex County to Manhattan every single day.
That's a drive.
Right?
Wow.
So he's driving to Dover and take a bus. And he anytime somebody came to him and said, you know, I'm doing this thing, or I've got this dream, or I have this vision, he would give them money. And that was my dad's way of love.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was his love language. He had invested in like every single person that came across his path. Mm-hmm. Oh, you need this. Oh, you need that. I mean, wow. It's crazy. My dad was an incredibly giving and generous human being. Yeah. I got to see that. So it wasn't a surprise to me. Yeah. On the same token, my brothers were shocked. My brother never got to see the guy that I got to see because of this program.
Wow.
My oldest brother is a gambler-aholic. And my older brother is like me reincarnated, but he never got
and that stinks.
It was an interesting experience because my sober friends all came to the funeral, and they're the ones that pointed out that out of the three of us, I was the only one that knew most of the stuff that my dad done.
Wow.
And when I found out about the other stuff, I wasn't surprised in any way, shape, or form that my dad would do something like that. So
well, when we clean the street and get ourselves right, that's when the miracles start happening. And it's funny because you said dad went and wrote you a check for $10,000, right? Yeah. Cake, just go write the check for $10,000. But it was so hard to say, I love you. Right. I mean, how crazy is that in this world now? And I get it, though. I understand it. You know, I understand that piece. And I had a kind of a dad like that. He didn't write me a check for $10,000. But when that healing, so you went from not talking to your dad to him writing you a $10,000 check. And that wasn't even the bonus. The bonus was saying, I love you all the time. That was the bonus of it. Hey, listen, $10,000 is great, but I take that. I love you every day. You know, my dad's gone and you know, I miss telling him I love him. I tell him I love him all the time, but you know, that's just an amazing story. And the other thing too, that's really stuck out with me was that you said that your relationship with that your dad said your relationship with God doesn't matter. It's just as long as you celebrate your God. Right. How cool is that? How cool is that from a union guy who's a tough guy who, right. Oh, you know, an open-minded kind of guy that you would never even think. His parents are from Sicily. He grew up this way, blah, blah, blah. And then he tells you, as long as you, as long as you're celebrating your God, it doesn't matter to me. And that is because of this program. I heard it clearly in your story, because if you didn't have this program, I'm sure none of this would come true at all.
I never would have even gone past the restraining order.
Yeah. Fuck him. He's a fucking asshole. You know, restraining order, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I get it.
So not to be super long-winded, but not all reconciliation from 9 steps is the way to go. So I made 3 attempts at amends with my mother. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, and after 4 or 5 years of really trying to find appropriate boundaries with her, we went no contact when my daughter was born. And I have not spoken to my mother since 2008.
Wow.
Because that was the best course of action for everybody involved.
There you go.
So, you know, I don't want people to think that, oh, you make amends and the relationship becomes like what happened with me and my dad. On the other side of it, like I went no contact with my mom after multiple attempts of trying to be a daughter, of trying to allow her to have a relationship with her grandchildren. And I'm just as happy with that as I am with the relationship I had with my dad, because I didn't pick a destination and then make decisions to get there. Mm-hmm. I rely on God put in front of me, and every choice I make in the present moment. Mm-hmm. I allow God to have that outcome. Yeah. And I get to be happy, joyous, and free. So I got to have a relationship with my dad. I got to let go of my relationship with my mom. And I still get to be happy and joyous and free. It doesn't matter what the outcome
And that's just as freeing. And don't forget, the second part of this step says, except when to do so would injure them or others, including ourselves. Like we don't want to force an apology on somebody because it's what we have to do. That's why it's important. Like we spoke, Bambi, in the past, to have a sponsor when you're going through this step. Do not do this step on your own.
Right.
Do not do this step on your own. Okay. Stick to step 1, 2, and 3. If you don't have a sponsor, do the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, until you get a sponsor. Yeah. I'm not even saying do that on your own, but if you want to, do you think you could do this program on your own? Do the 1, 2, 3s, and that's it. And then you'll see how you're going to grow, because that is amazing growth. If you didn't do any 8 and 9 work, steps 8 and 9 work, you wouldn't be where you're at today. You really wouldn't,
I would be, you know what I mean? Like, turns out my mom like hates my in-laws because they're Jewish. I mean, like my whole life would look very different if I was still sucked into that way of life. Like, listen, I had a sponsee who was in the middle of 5 and decided to go rogue and go down to the shore and make amends to her 8.5-month pregnant daughter, put her in tears, and the whole weekend wound up being a shamble. And she came back and she's like, I don't know why it didn't go well. I'm like, really? Don't get that. Wow.
Check in with me first. So the other thing too, the other comment that you made, Beth, is that you don't mean to be long-winded here. Bambi and I have been talking on this podcast since God knows when. So believe me, if you want to take over and we kick back, I mean, I'll shut down and I'll just go in the other room. All yours. Believe me, all yours. Anyways, but thank you for that personal look at your step 9. And again, that's one little look at things in yours. There's all different things, but the things that step out is that kind of stick out is kind of what we're talking about. Bambi, how about you? I mean, I know you just recently went through I guess an 8 and 9, right? Correct?
Right. Well, I actually just finished step 12 with my sponsor.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
I'm all the way through the first time. So
you got to go paint that bridge again.
I still have amends to make. I know, paint the bridge again. I'm at one end, going back to the other now.
That's right.
And it's funny because there's and I'll get to, I have a question afterwards, but my people that I made amends to, and I still have amends to make. But the people that I made amends to were way too easy on me. I almost wish that one of them had said, come here at 3:00, be here at, you pick up that phone anytime, but my people that are, and I lost a lot of relatives and a lot of people. I had a lot of deaths in my family. And so I had less people. I mean, I made my amends, I wrote my letters to my mom and my brother and, that are in heaven now. But as far as like physical amends, the ones that I've done, like my brother was like, he's not having any of it. Just I accept your apology. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to discuss it, kind of thing. I almost wish he would put me to the test, and say, you be here, you do that. And my best friend also they're just too generous to me, and it's like, no, I got to get this shit out. I got to say all this horrible stuff I did. And they're like, oh, we lived it. Trust me. We know all the horrible stuff you did. But, and then as I work through my program, I guess, and my question for you, Ed and Beth, is, now, how do you know when to do, like, I've remembered, or things have come into my life and people now are on my amends list. What's it? Do I save them for my 9-step amends again, or do I do a 10-step? When do you decide? I mean, sometimes I immediately do my daily inventory. I do my everyday, if I've been like a bitch to someone and I realize that I've done that. But like the people that are, like Oklahoma, people that I don't see, but I'm back in contact with, do I save those amends? Do I work it again, or do I just make them?
Get it done.
Get it done.
Get it done. Yeah.
Make the appointment. Call them. It literally directs us how to do it in the big books. We make the approach. We tell them what we need to do. And then we make the approach and we make the amend. I need to set up a time to make amends for some stuff that I did to you in the past. I want to take responsibility for my actions. Do you have time? And sometimes they'll tell you, no, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And that's
Right. I have been doing that. So I guess I'm following the big book. So I'm glad with that. But names will pop up that you've forgotten about. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot I have that whole person.
Right. So
in my mind.
Yeah. So what we do with stuff like that, like stuff that didn't go through the whole process. I've had Amanda just called me the other day, and Renee just did too. That's so funny. This totally popped up, and I totally forgot. For those of us that were in a blackout most of our lives, like that kind of it happens. So we go through it, and you can do a 4th step and a 5th step all in one, just over the phone, right? Go through all the columns, talk it out, pull out your character defects, write the card, call me back, go over the card. And then make the approach. Get it done.
I like the idea of a card. I like that.
Yeah, I've never heard that before. And the other thing too, guys, is and Bambi, listen to your sponsor also. That's what me and Beth, that's how my sponsor does it. But your sponsor may want to do it a different way. And again, I'm not, that's just a suggestion from us. Beth and I were, and most people say, just get it done and over with. We don't have to wait to go back around this again. Just do it. But make sure you talk to your sponsor. And if that's the right approach, then you do it, and you go through it. And there was a question here. And again, this question, I think, brings around what Bambi has had, what Bambi asked. It says, what fears keep me from life-giving process of step 9, right? What fears? So was it left off because of a fear? Was it left off because you forgot? Was it left off because you just remembered because you were in a blackout and I don't know, burned down somebody's garage? I don't know, whatever it was.
Right.
But what was it? What's some of the fears that you guys may have had that stopped us from this life-giving process at step 9?
Yeah. I think for me,
Anybody,
it's just, I didn't, I think literally when you're going through the process and, my sponsor had me do a timeline of my life, but I literally just think that there were people that I just forgot. I don't think that there was a fear because I did immediately set a time and make an amends. So I don't think it was that because I would have been more fearful to make amends to my brother, and I was anxious to do that, but he would have been the one that scared me the most,
Yeah.
So
you conquered your biggest fear is your brother.
Yeah. So I think these were mine, I don't want to say minor because obviously when you screw up, you screw up, but they weren't, I was pressed more on the bigger ones, like you said, the people that I see all the time.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Beth? What fears kept you from we don't get this right at the beginning. This is a program of progress, not perfection. So what's your thoughts on that?
So for me, it's fear. So the first time I went through the work, the fear was, it was different than what I had been doing to stay sober. Mm-hmm. There's a huge protection of what we know works for us, even though, something else could work better. That doesn't hit my radar. It's just, this is different. And I could die. Of course, that's where we always go, right?
Yeah, of course.
Well, if you follow the rabbit hole, it all goes down to, I'm going to die.
That is true.
And then for me, specifically with the 9th step was selfishly, I was like, am I going to tell them something they didn't know? And I was like, to which my sponsor was like, that's kind of the point, Beth.
Damn sponsors, they know everything.
Mine does.
Yeah,
I know it's crazy. Well, fear of rejection for me was the biggest thing, like like fuck you, or I don't care about you, or I don't want to hear it anymore. But this is not 100% about me. This is about everybody healing, and everybody kind of getting through all this. And so rejection was big for me. I was always afraid, also a restraining order, as we spoke in the past to my ex-wife.
That was a stepping.
Afraid of that also,
but stumbling block.
Exactly. But I want to read something from The Healing Power of Positive Words. It's Mary Busha is her name, and it's a great book. It really is a great book. It has nothing to do with AA, but here's and baby, this kind of goes to your brother. And also the conference that Beth and I met at, they were talking about trauma. A lot of people don't want to relive that trauma. And believe me, there's big trauma and there's big T's and little T's. And a lot of what we did to our loved ones is that little T, right? And that little T builds up in that bucket. And then it becomes this, fuck you. I don't want to hear anything more from you, right? Because of all the shit that you did to me. And who the hell wants to relive? I stole money from you. I cheated. I stole. I did. Some people don't want to hear that, because they don't need to relive it. And I've heard that plenty of times, in some of my amends. And you just got to be okay with it. You just have to move on from it, because that's what this is about. That's what it's about. And here she wrote something on forgiveness. It says, forgiveness is not necessarily easy, no matter what side of the words we are on, but it is necessary in order to have a healthy relationship with those close to us. So we have to understand that forgiveness isn't just on my side of the street. It's on their side of the street also, is what it's telling me. So I have to understand I'm here to ask for forgiveness. And if they don't need to give it to me just yet, or if that's how they're going to deal with it, then it's okay, because I can't force the forgiveness on them. I can't tell them how to forgive me. I just need to hope that God and your higher power, whatever it is, when you go to do your amends or whatever you're doing, however you're doing, writing a letter or whatever you're doing, that the forgiveness will be on the other side. And I have to understand, whatever that other side is, it has to be okay. Not just my side of the street. That other side of the street has to be okay too. And I think that was pretty powerful as far as seeing on both sides for a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
For a healthy relationship.
Yeah, because it's killing me. I want to make amends to my daughter so bad, and she's not there yet. She's not ready for me to do that, and she's completely put me out of her life, and it's killing me. I mean, I want that so bad, but I have to realize
In her time.
that's the selfish part in me, and that's the character defect that says I want it now. I want it when I want it, and it should happen in my time, not God's time. And
well, Beth, you experienced that with your dad. Did you go through all that too? With you wish you had your dad, kind of what Bambi's going through? Or did you experience some of that?
No.
Okay.
Kids are a specific beast of their own.
Okay.
Making amends with kids, like, you're that person in their life. And when the stuff that we do, whether intentional, not intentional, it takes longer for them to gain that trust that it's not going to happen again.
Absolutely.
Well, my brother keeps saying, maybe when you hit a year, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm 8.5 months now. And I'm like, I can't, the selfish part of me says, I can't wait that much long. This is time I'm missing with her, but I know it's in her time. So.
Right. And also, like, if you really do follow the 12-step model, like, nothing happens in God's world by mistake. So you are, in fact, currently becoming the person that you need to be in order to handle having her back in your life.
Right. And I do. I mean, of course but it's hard. Oh my God, is it tough?
Yeah, absolutely. There's another question in this book. It says, am I waiting for the certainty of forgiveness before I make amends? Am I willing to take the risk? Right? No, you just have to get in there and do it. And Bambi, this is a perfect example of your daughter. I know you're waiting, but then you get there, you're like, okay, what's it going to be like? What's this anticipation? What is it going to be? She might say, fuck you. She might say, okay, let me in. And she might say, fuck you. And then that's it. Then, where do you put yourself? So all this,
because maybe I'm not emotionally ready for that response yet,
and God is definitely, in charge here. I always say this, this phrase, it's in the rooms, we make plans and God laughs, right? That's
right.
a big, it's a big thing.
Definitely.
But exactly. It's true for me, but I heard it said a different way. We make plans and God guides our footsteps.
True story.
I love that. I love that because God's not there to laugh at us. God's not there to, kind of put us down. He's there to guide us through our footsteps. And I believe, Bambi, because you share that a lot, especially in this step, And even before we got into step 9, you shared it. But I believe God's guiding your footsteps at this point in your life, and he's guiding all of us. Beth is on here for a reason. I met her in Cape Cod 2 weeks ago, and I called her up the next day and said, do you want to come on our podcast? Because something drew me to her, right? Something drew me to her about the big book, about the way she shared, the way she held herself, the way she spoke about her program, and just the way she spoke in general. Right. It was just amazing. So that wasn't me, that wasn't me. I was guided to talk to Beth that way about it. So I'm going to shift gears here, and then we're going to close out, because this is a huge category with people, and how we do this. So let's just get a little personal with this. Do I have any unfinished business left on my list? Categories are money owed to people, jobs, businesses, any laws broken, broken or painful relationships. How do we make amends to those specific things? It might be a business we stole from. It could be money owed to somebody, a drug dealer 20 years ago. I don't know where this drug dealer is, and I don't care to find that drug dealer anymore. You know what I mean? Laws broken. Fuck, I broke so many laws. It's just unbelievable, and broken, painful relationships. So what's everybody's thoughts on that? Beth, or anybody jump in? And
I'm like, why wouldn't you go find your drug dealer? If he's still dealing drugs, don't give him the money.
True.
But God's path is God's path. And if you're on my list, I'm going to seek you out and find you. Okay. Like, I'm sober now and been like, oh my God, you're not dead. I thought you were dead. I thought I killed you, like with whatever I gave you, blah, blah, blah. So for me, it's everything, you know what I mean? I've gone to the store and I paid back the IGA store next to my house growing up.
Wow.
Or something for all the candy I stole when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, it seems stupid. And a lot of the times, like the corporate stores, like the Victoria's Secret or the James Way or whatever, the Walmart, Target, it's like they can't take the money.
Yeah.
You can't take the money. But when I get told I can't take the money, I donate that.
Yes.
I donate it to wherever. I say, one time I went and I was like, well, I have to give this money somewhere. What is your favorite nonprofit? And the lady was like, my kid at CF. So CF got all that money that
there you go.
Done.
Yeah.
Like done and done. And I actually saw an amends for, it was like a quick check or something like that, like was going around social media that
wow.
just left money at the quick check with the written amends.
Wow.
I thought that was really cool. So I always make the approach with the assistance of a mentor. You know what I mean? I have a friend of mine who turned himself in and went to jail.
Oh, Jesus. So that's laws broken. Any laws broken. I mean, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. You know, hey, listen, if you're going to pay back somebody at the store, that's a law you broke. You stole. That's a law, but we also have to make sure, listen, the step says, again, except when to do so that would injure them or others, right? Yep. So if you're the breadwinner of the family and you go turn yourself in, I don't suggest you doing that at all. I don't suggest that.
So, but you don't get to make that decision. You go to your wife and your family or whoever you are responsible for and say, this is what I would like to do. Are you okay with it? Mm. And we've had families go, absolutely, you go get free. We will make it work.
Wow. Okay. So a different look at it. Absolutely.
Always hard on ourselves and easy on others. We don't get to make those choices.
I like that. And then broken, painful relationships. I'm shit, man. I left broken, painful relationships cluttered in my early days of using, and that doesn't just mean my girlfriend or fiance. It's my mom, dad, best friend, you name it. The relationships that I made just to get money from you, the false relationships that I made to use and abuse you, right? Think about that shit. I mean, for me anyways, right? I mean, it's amazing. So not amazing. It's just crazy how our addict and alcoholic minds think. And it's crazy how we have to go back to free us from this and go make amends to this, the crazy world that we lived in. Because here's the thing, guys, I see it this way. I can't even fathom myself doing this stuff anymore, right? Let alone, understanding now, pulling all that back up and understanding, oh my God, that was really me. Really? Was that me?
Yeah.
It was, right? I mean, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. So, so that's a couple other things. Great show, guys. I think we covered a lot personally on here. Beth, thank you so much for really getting really deep and personal. I hope that helped a lot of people out there, because it helped me understand my dad a little bit more too, and relationships and my relationship with God. You really gave me a different understanding. It's okay to have a relationship with God, however it is, because it's my relationship, not anybody else's. And that's what your dad made me see today. So thank you, Dad. I appreciate it.
Oh, I'm going to cry.
Me too. So
I'm not crying. I'm getting ready for the Buckeye game. So
there you go. Yeah. Don't cry when they lose. So.
They're not losing. We're playing Toledo. We're not really playing. We're
just practicing. Good. All right.
Practice.
Well, that's it on step 9, guys, because next week is going to be tradition 9. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what it is. I'm going to do some studying on it because I am not a traditions guy, but that's what we do at the end of the month. We celebrate the 9th tradition, and we talk about it as best as we could. So that will be next week. Beth, would you like to join us next week? I'm putting you out in a spot here on the show, but you're welcome to come back. I loved you, Bambi. I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd be honored. I think this is fun. Years, right?
Absolutely.
I'll make you a background.
Make you a background.
You can be official.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll get you some technical stuff over there, so you're not going in and out. I know everybody's having a hard time hearing you once in a while. You're going in and out on the microphone, but we'll take care of it. It's not your fault. It's just that it happens when we have guests like without the podcast equipment. So, ladies, thank you so much for all your personal insight on everything. It is kind of hard doing this, and it's out there now, right? Here it is. We all have to be okay with it, and we are, because we wouldn't have came on here sharing our experience, strength, and hope, because that's what keeps us sober, and that's what might keep the next person sober that listens to this. That is the most important part of all this, is that we're helping people stay sober, because that keeps me fucking sober. I can tell you that. So without further ado, we're going to end this show. Ladies, thank you so much. And
thank you.
Stay sober, everybody.
Thank you.
This concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.